Hi, I'm Evan Campbell from Solutions IQ with Agile Amped. I've got Dan Montgomery with me, and we're at the first annual Business Agility Conference in Times Square in New York. And Dan is a very experienced consultant and strategist who works in the Agile space with social service agencies and other kinds of companies. And I'd love to hear a little about your impressions of the conference so far, being the first Business Agility Conference. Yeah. How are you enjoying it?
I'm really enjoying it, Evan. I mean, it's absolutely great this thing came off. I've been talking to Evan Laybourne about it for close to a year, and I just appreciate he really went out on a limb and got this thing put together. And I mean, we must have 350 people here.
Yeah, sold out.
It's a great audience. Yeah, so yeah, we're having a good time.
Good. So tell me a little bit about the kind of work that you do and where you're specializing in business agility.
Okay. Well, I have kind of a schizophrenic background in that I actually trained as a psychologist before I ever went into business. And so I've kind of always looked at what are the conversations and the attitudes and the culture that go on in business and how does that affect things. But then later on, I started getting interested after I had about a 10-year career in IT and software development. I got interested in strategy, so that's what I've been working in the last few years.
That's
so
great.
I've gotten interested in applying the idea of agility to strategic planning, because what I found was happening was I was working as a consultant doing strategic plans for people, where you tend to think, well, the whole job of the strategic planning consultant is to help you come up with the plan, and then I go away and you implement it. Mm-hmm. And what I was finding following up with a lot of clients was that they weren't getting implemented, they were breaking down. And that's what I talked about in one social service agency in my talk yesterday. So I started identifying a few basic problems that happen in strategic planning. And one of them is, if you just think of the strategic plan as the artifact that you're driving toward, it's going to be obsolete, it's going to be shelfware as soon as the thing is done. So the plan is immediately out of date. And so what happens is a lot of effort goes into creating the strategic plan, a lot of meetings. The conversation is worth something on its own because it opens up new possibilities, admittedly, but if you're focused on the plan itself as a thing, it's immediately obsolete. And part of the reason for that is that it's this thing that I love this term. General Stanley McChrystal, who reinvented the way they were fighting Al-Qaeda in Iraq, talked about in his book, Team of Teams. He called it predictive hubris. So it's this idea that we can predict the future, and we'll go out there 3 to 5 years. This is what's going to happen. Here's our plan. This is our environment. Here's our strategic initiatives. Okay, everybody go.
There are a lot of illusions built into that. Yeah. The illusion of clarity, the illusion of stability, and the illusion of control.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very, very, almost delusional, I would say. So you got that problem. Then you've got the problem that often these plans are done by a small group of executives who go off-site with a consultant like me, and they come up with the plan, and then you employ this thing called change management to get all the folks to go along with it. And I worked in the change management practice for one of the very large consulting firms that I guess I won't name. And I mean, that's what we were doing. That's what we were doing. So you really need to have a process that's a lot more engaging for people.
Yeah.
And to build that throughout the organization. And then a third problem is, and we mentioned this already, that you're doing a 3 to 5 year planning horizon, and you come up with all of these initiatives, and then that becomes the program. It's just too much to get done. Yeah. I mean, and that's the piece where I was very inspired about Agile. Start less, finish more, have a backlog, limit your work in progress, and do that. Because I've seen people just get overwhelmed with so many initiatives and so many performance measures that they just get overwhelmed with the amount of detail instead of just focusing on it as more of a human kind of process.